welcome. Good afternoon. I am not sure if anyone is out there. If you are, please, if you could put in the chat that you're here and that you can hear my voice, this would be great. Welcome to the Elevate program, el programa Elevate in Spanish. My name is Yvette Lopez, founder of Latinos in Grapevine. I want to first and foremost thank the Grapevine Community Outreach Center, Grapevine's First Baptist Church, and the Grapevine Library for their partnership with our program Elevate, which is a personal and professional development training program for Latinos in Spanish. One live session a month based on a particular subject area and supplemented with in person activities. Although usually these live sessions are in Spanish, our presenter for this evening offered to host this live session in Spanish, I'm sorry, in English as well. And for those who know me, if there's a way to do it, if there's an opportunity, we get it done. So here we are. I am a coach and consultant for development culture and president of a nonprofit that leads the initiative Latinos in Grapevine here in Grapevine, Texas. We believe that every single person has value and that when we are able to focus on our strengths, we find ways to add value to the spaces in which we move, and that we have to continuously unlearn and learn, even though it might be uncomfortable and even though it might not feel good, in order to evaluate our lives and do so in the seven key areas of life holistically, which are faith, fitness, family, friends, field, finance, and fun. And in order to evaluate these and make good decisions for ourselves and our families. In the month of June and July, we have been hyper focused on health and wellness. June's live session covered eating healthy on a limited budget, sponsored by Stellar Smiles Ortho here in Grapevine. We took a field trip to the supermarket to learn how to read and understand labels and make better choices. And we had a boxing class sponsored by Rockbox South Lake, which was really, really fun and a workout, a really, really intense workout. So if you haven't tried that, I highly recommend going to Rockbox South Lake and booking a class. This month, we focused on Alzheimer's, which affect Latinos and African Americans at a disproportionate level than the rest of the population. Our presenter was kind enough to also offer this session in English, so let me bring her on. So we have Diana Vivas Monroe, who is a passionate advocate for social change and the bilingual program manager for the prominent nonprofit Alzheimer's Association, focused on community development. With a bachelor's degree in biology and psychology, Diana has dedicated her career addressing issues of health, poverty, and education. She has successfully led initiatives that have transformed the lives of vulnerable populations and empowered communities. Diana has over 10 years of experience in the field and volunteers with several community based organizations. So, welcome, Diana Vivas Monroe, with our session in English on Alzheimer's. And so, if you are online, let's see, Diana, are you with us?
Yes, I'm
Oh,
here.
awesome, awesome. So, Diana, take it away.
Yes. So thank you so much for having me today, Yvette. Like I said, well, like Yvette mentioned, um, I've been in the nonprofit world for over 10 years. I've been with the association for about a year, and I'm very passionate about this, especially with Alzheimer's and dementia, because both of my grandparents had it. So this is very dear to my heart. And I'm happy to be here today. And I hope you guys get a lot of information today.
Diana, your camera is off. I usually keep mine off because it's all about you and not about me. There
Oh,
you are. Okay, awesome.
So, what we're going to learn today, we're going to learn how to compare Alzheimer's and dementia. We're going to talk about the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia. We're going to learn how to recognize Alzheimer's disease or how Alzheimer's disease affects the brain. We're going to list risk factors of Alzheimer's disease. We're going to identify the stages of the disease, and we're going to describe how scientists are working to advance the research. And I'm going to name some of the resources available through the Alzheimer's Association. Next. So let's talk about the impact of Alzheimer's. But before that, I want to test your knowledge. So I want you to type on the chat what you think is the answer. So the question here is approximately how many Americans are currently living with Alzheimer's? The choices are over 3 million, more than 6 million, about 8 million, or about 11 million. I want you to tell me what number you think. I hear over 3 million. Let's go next. The answer, it's over more than 6 million. Actually, the latest numbers of that data that we have, it puts it at 7 million. That's how many Americans are currently living with Alzheimer's. Next slide, please. I have another question for you about how many Americans provide unpaid care for people living with Alzheimer's or other dementia. The choices are about 8 million, over 11 million, over 14 million, or more than 18 million. About 8 million. I hear that. Another guess? So let's go to the next slide. The answer is over 11 million. So that's how many people or how many Americans are providing some type of unpaid care for someone living with Alzheimer's or other dementia. That's a lot. Next slide, please. Skip. Alzheimer's is a normal part of the aging process. This is true or false? Yes, it's false. Alzheimer's is the brain disease that affects the brain, and it's not part of aging process. So the video that we skipped talked about the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's. So dementia is an umbrella term used to describe someone that is having memory, behavior, and cognitive issues. There are several types of dementia. Alzheimer's is the most common type of dementia, accounts for 60 to 85% of the cases. The second most dementia is vascular dementia. Vascular dementia is the type of dementia that is caused by changes in the capillary in the blood vessels in the brain. This is seen a lot in people that had strokes. Uh, Personally, my grandmother, she had many strokes in her life. It was 1 week that she had over 7 strokes. So she had damage on the blood vessels or her brain. So when she was about 72 years old, she started having memory issues, and she was diagnosed with vascular dementia. Another type of dementia is called Lewy body dementia. And this type of dementia is caused by tangles of a protein in the brain that blocks the transmission of information from neuron to neuron. Um, and so it shows in the form of memory loss and memory and thinking, and also behavior. Another type of dementia is called frontotemporal dementia. This type of dementia is caused by damage of the frontotemporal part of your brain. So that will be the forehead of your brain, where that's the point where communication, speak, writing, all that occurs. So damage to this part of the brain causes people to not being able to communicate with another. And there's also an overlapping type of dementia. So this is called mixed dementia. So back to the story with my grandmother. She was diagnosed with vascular dementia, but later on in life, she was also diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and she passed away due to Alzheimer's disease. So what another of the questions that we have there is, people younger than 65 can get Alzheimer's. Is it true or false? Yes, it's very true. Although we don't see it often, people as young as 45 years old can get Alzheimer's or can develop Alzheimer's. Next slide. So why is an accurate diagnosis important? An accurate diagnosis is important for many reasons. Not only the person has a vote or a voice on what they how they want to live the rest of their lives, but also because there is some medications that are available, um, but they only work when the disease is detected at an early stage. And this is specific for Alzheimer's. We have two medications that treat Alzheimer's that actually treat the biology of the disease. But like I said, it's only when it's detected on time or early stage. Uh, the hallmark of Alzheimer's is a plaque entangled formation. So there's a protein in the brain that starts producing um, rapidly in causes plaque formation in the brain, and also protein tangles in this proteins star um, number one blocks the transmission of information, but also kills the tissue in the brain. So a healthy brain weighs about 3 pounds. A brain with Alzheimer's disease at a later stage weighs only a pound or less. So you can see there's tremendously loss of tissue, and this is because of the disease. Next slide. So let's do a little recap of what I just mentioned. Dementia is a general term for a collection of symptoms that are severe enough to interfere with your daily life or activities. Alzheimer's is the most common type of dementia. Like I mentioned, is 60 to 85% of the cases. And Alzheimer's is not part of the aging process. It's a progressive brain disease. So now let's talk about Alzheimer's and the brain. So more than 100 years ago, Dr. Alois Alzheimer's described specific changes in the brain. And this is the form of plaques and tangles. In Alzheimer's causes nerve cells to die, which leads to a shrinkage in the brain. And these brain changes are result in changes in memory, thinking, and behavior. Let's talk about all risk factors, but let's test our knowledge first. Question is, what is the greatest known risk factors for Alzheimer's disease? Is it genetics, family history, or age? Family history, it's part of it, but it's not the greatest one. So the greatest known risk factor is age, although it's not part. Alzheimer's is not part of the aging process. We know that once the person hits 65 years of age, um, the, there's a higher chance or higher risk for the person to develop Alzheimer's disease. Family history is also part of that. Um, we know that having a parent or a sibling that have had or developed Alzheimer's or dementia has a greater possibility that it will develop the disease. And we know that genetics, it's also a part of it. So there's two types of genes that determine if the person will have or will develop Alzheimer's. And these are risk genes and deterministic genes. Risk genes gives you a higher chance to of developing the disease, but it's not a guarantee. With deterministic genes means that you have both copies of the gene in your chromosomes and will give you a 100% chance of developing the disease. Although they're less common, we don't see that very common. Who's at risk? So let's talk about populations that are higher risk. We know that Black Americans are about twice as likely as compared to white Americans to have Alzheimer's or another type of dementia. We know that Hispanics are 1/3 um, compared to white Americans to have the disease. And we know that 2/3 of Americans living with Alzheimer's are women. And we believe that women, that is the case because women live longer. So, obviously there's more diseases that they're going to suffer from. So let's do a little recap again. Age is the greatest known risk factors for Alzheimer's. In an individual's risk for developing the disease increases at age 65, and it doubles every 5 years. Family history is also a known risk factor. So having a parent or a sibling with a disease increases the individual's risk. And we have two types of genes, risk genes and deterministic genes are the two types of genes associated with Alzheimer's. So we talked about risk genes. Risk genes give you a high chance of developing Alzheimer's, but deterministic genes gives you a 100% um, um, uh, possibility that the person will develop Alzheimer's. Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, and women are more at an increased risk for Alzheimer's.
Diana, a quick question. You talked about early detection and how important that was because of the availability of certain medications. Can you tell us a little bit more about the medications and I guess the most recent discoveries? Because I had two grand aunts that have suffered from Alzheimer's, and I don't think that there were medications available back then, which is about 20 years ago. But do these medications pause the progress of the disease? Does it reverse? Does that work?
So the first medication that I was referring to came out last year on 2023, and it's called Lakimbi. And this medication is proved to stop plaque formation, but it's only good at the earliest stage when there's when this medication is given to the person with the disease at a later stage. It does not remove the plaque. It only stops the formation of the plaque, so the protein starts reproducing. The other type of medication that actually came out um, 2 months ago, I will say, is called donanemab, and it's close to what Leqembi does, so it stops the progression of the plaques and the tangles, but it doesn't remove it from the brain. So those are the two type of medications that we do have. Um, like I said, currently there's no cure for Alzheimer's or dementia. The only medications that there are out there um, my for severe dementia, Alzheimer's and dementia are medications that treat memory issues or behavioral issues, like agitation, violence, and all that. But they're not changing any biology of the brain. So the plaque formation and the tangles continue to produce in the brain, but they only treat the symptoms. So let's talk about the stages of the disease. When we talk about a symptomatic, means that there's no cognitive symptoms. So the person uh, is not showing any symptoms yet, but there's a possible biological changes in the brain. So there's the plaque formation and the tangles are showing in the brain, but there's no cognitive symptoms yet. MCI due to Alzheimer's disease. This is mild cognitive impairment. This is the early stage of cognitive ability loss. So the person may start repeating themselves a lot, maybe forgetting things, not as often, but there's a change that is noticeable. Then dementia due to Alzheimer's disease. This is breaking down into three stages: the mild, moderate, and severe. The mild stage is typically involves symptoms that interfere with some of your daily activities. Moderate is more pronounced symptoms that interfere with many daily activities. And then you have the severe one, which is the latest um, stage, and this interferes with every single daily activity. So the person does not remember a lot, um, confusion, hallucinations, all that is happening. So the three broad phases of the disease are asymptomatic, mild cognitive impairment due to Alzheimer's disease, and dementia due to Alzheimer's disease. The dementia phase is further broken down into three stages, which is mild, moderate, and severe. I want you to know that no two individuals experience the symptoms and progression of Alzheimer's disease in the same way. And while symptoms may worsen over time, people progress through these different stages at different rates as their ability change. And this is something that you need to talk to your doctor, um, um, because it's different from everyone. So let's go back into the topic of FDA approved treatments.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
What can we do as far as testing is concerned? I'm not really sure if the diagnosis is just based on these symptoms that you've mentioned before, memory loss and forgetting, because I have memory loss right now. And so, what is the testing to be able to make this an official diagnosis?
So currently, the only thing that doctors are going by are memory tests and CT scans. So if you get an image to your brain, they can see if there are tangles or plaque formation in the brain. But there's a blood test that is being I believe it's at the FDA approval stage, that will tell if the person, number one, has Alzheimer's disease or carries the genes for Alzheimer's disease. So we are waiting for it to come out. We're very hopeful that it's going to change a lot and that people will um, have this access to a blood test. Just go to the doctor and get a blood test, and we'll know for sure if this is happening to the person, and so the person can start treatment with the medications that are available currently, that stops the biology in the progression of the disease.
That's amazing.
Yes. So, like I mentioned, currently medications cannot cure Alzheimer's, but there are treatments that change the disease progression. There are also drugs and non drug options that may help treat symptoms such as memory loss and confusion, and also agitation. Treatments may administer as a pill, some of them come in patches, or some of them are intravenously, so infusions. These treatments work in different degrees and are not effective for everyone. So you need to have a conversation with your healthcare provider to determine which medication or which treatment is the best treatment for yourself. If you want to learn more about treatments, you can go to our website, alz.org/treatments. There's lots of information there for you to read. So, advancing the Alzheimer's research. So, scientists have increased their understanding of Alzheimer's over significantly over the past decade. We know that people living with dementia, caregivers, and healthy volunteers without dementia are needed for clinical studies in order to find method of prevention, treatments, and ultimately a cure. There's not a lot of representation in the Hispanic community or the Black community. There's a lot of representation from the Caucasian community. And I believe that that's one of the reasons why Black Americans and Hispanic Americans have a higher risk of developing Alzheimer's and dementia. There are both drugs and non-drug studies that are taking place across the country and online. And if you want to participate in a clinical study, you can go to our website, alz.org/trial match. So trial match is a way that you can get matched for clinical studies in your area. Those clinical studies are free, and a lot of them pay you for your time. And the greatest thing about participating in a clinical study is that the person will have access to medications in testings that no other person will have, and the regular person out there. And um, I mean that's amazing. I wish I had that with my grandparents. So trial match, when you go online and sign up for trial match, you just have to create a quick profile, and then enter your zip code in, how long are you willing to drive or go to, and then they can show you what clinical studies are being done in your area. So let's talk about what the Alzheimer's Association can do for you. So we are available through on three ways. You can call our 24/7 helpline. The number is on the screen: 1-800-272-3900. This is a 24/7 helpline. So day, night, 365 days, you can call them. um, I mean, they can do it all. They can match you with a clinical study. They can help you answer questions or doubts that you might have. You can call them about things that are you're experiencing if you're not sure what those things are. You can call about a loved one. They can help you with recipes. They can help you with doctors in the area. Those are clinical clinicians and psychiatrists and doctors that are in the helpline waiting for people to call and help them through all that. They can go online. We have resources online, so alz.org. Um, all the information that you can get from the helpline, you can also find it online. And also through Community Nationwide, so CRF, Community Resource Finder. This is a way where you can go to and see what classes and programs in workshops are available for you to go to. Ways to find to join the fight. So you can become a volunteer. So if you're interested in volunteer with us, we have several you have several ways to do it. So we can train you to deliver this type of programming to the community. So that takes, you just have to create a profile. We do the rest of the things. There's a background check that is done for you. And like I said, we train you with the knowledge and the material on how to deliver this type of presentations to the community. And you can do that yourself on your own time. You can be an advocate. Um, you can go into Congress and fight for the rights of um, Americans, right? Uh, for insurance coverage, for many reasons. You can participate in a clinical study through Trial Match. You can join us on our walk. So we have a yearly walk. Fort Worth will have its walk. There's another walk in Arlington. So the Fort Worth walk is the last Saturday of October, and the walk in Arlington is the first Saturday of November. So what do we do there? We gather, we walk for the cause, we fellowship, we eat, in we are together, raising awareness, in walking for those loved ones that we've lost. In all the money that is that we get from that walk goes straight for research. We work very closely with UNT Health. They have an amazing um, uh, Alzheimer's research over there, and we also work with UT Southwest in Dallas. I did a tour last November, and I was amazed with all the work that they do. Yeah, I was very impressed. The longest day is done on the solstice day, so June 20th, when is the day with most light. And what that means is that a person that wants to participate will pick an activity of their choice, and they can um, raise awareness in funds to give to the Alzheimer's Association. So, for example, if you like to bake, you can bake cookies and you can sell them to your friends, your family, um, etc., and give the money to the Alzheimer's Association for research purposes. So, like I mentioned, you can volunteer. You can spare a few hours a week, and make a more significant time commitment. Um, you can become a community educator, or join our local walk committee. That's something else that you can do. We all always need help in our walks. Um, um, they're very they're a big thing around around town. Next slide. You can become an advocate for the Alzheimer's Association and speak on behalf of the needs and rights of those facing Alzheimer's disease. If you want to get more information about this, you can go to alzimpact.org. Trial match, it's a place where you can get where participants can get matched with clinical trials. They can get started with the Alzheimer's Association's trial match. This is an easy uh, to use tool that is free. And like I mentioned before, it will give you clinical studies in your area. Our annually walk. So this is more than 600 communities that get together for the largest world's largest fundraiser to fight the disease. You can register to participate in our walk at alc.org/walk. And the last one is on the longest day. So this is the day with the most light. This is the summer solstice, so it's going to be June 20th. And all the funds that are raised and the awareness for the care, support, and research efforts through the Alzheimer's Association. You pick an activity of your choice. And like I mentioned, you can do this in a fun way. And everything that is the funds that you make from that, you can give it to the Alzheimer's Association for research. Questions?
So, why do you think it is that these populations, so minority populations, African Americans, Latinos that you mentioned before, are two times or one third more likely to have Alzheimer's than the rest of the non minority population?
So I know genetics. We know genetics is a very big part of it. We know that ethnicities are different depending on our race. And it is very true that Hispanics and Black Americans have a higher risk of developing diabetes and cholesterol and heart problems. And so they're they're related. So for someone that has diabetes, um, they call Alzheimer's the diabetes type 3. And this is they call it like that because people that suffer from diabetes and cholesterol and high blood pressure has a very high probability of developing Alzheimer's at a later stage. So we know that there's something together with that. And we know that Hispanics and Black Americans are suffer that the most compared to white Americans.
So diet, right? So
Yes.
it's high risk factors based on what we're eating, uh,
Yes.
high sugars, fat, and I can venture to guess that because as we become more busy and we are eating out and our kids are eating out more often, where there are higher levels of sugar and fat and synthetic substances, artificial flavors and colors, that we might even see an increase in the disease diagnosis.
Yes, so there are healthy habits that people can adopt to decrease the chance or the probability of developing Alzheimer's or dementia. In so we talked about exercising, so get moving, right, getting your steps in, um, eating a healthy diet. So they recommend either the Mediterranean diet, which is vegetables, grains, healthy fats, and lean meat, or the DASH diet, that is very similar to the Mediterranean diet, but it's also very low in sugar and salt. We talk other healthy habits that someone can adopt is to um, manage their diabetes. So if you're diabetic, manage it. Um, your cholesterol, your high blood pressure. So whatever is good for the heart is also going to be good for your brain.
Awesome.
Controlling or managing your depression. So depression can be a can cause Alzheimer's. There's a correlation there. In Alzheimer and depression, it's also a sign of Alzheimer's. So we know that paying very close attention to depression or symptoms are very important. Also, sleep is crucial for our health. So if you're suffering from insomnia or you're not sleeping right, talk to your doctor to see what the best treatment for that will be. Also, keeping your brain challenge, right? So keeping your brain busy, learning a new activity, but it has to be challenging enough, right? So if you I don't know, if you love to do word puzzles and they become too easy for you, get something else that is more challenging to you. So they talk about learning a new language at a later age, or learning how to play an instrument. um, if you don't know where to start, I was doing a class today in South Lake. And I know for a fact because I teach a class at TCC Northeast, and they have many activities for seniors over the age of 50. They have piano, they have other languages, they have crochet, they have, I mean, you name it, they have it. Joining something like that in keeping your brain challenged at all times is very crucial to for your brain because of neuroplasticity, right? So finding other, making more connections in your brain to make new memories, right?
That's awesome. Yes, thanks for those tips. So a healthy diet, low sodium, low sugar, lean meat, um, whatever is good for your heart is good for your brain. I love that. That's amazing. And that's a good way to remember before you're eating something. And learning a new activity. And I'm not sure if you know that, Diana, but we host Baila in the Park here in Grapevine. And that is about learning how to dance Latino music, Hispanic music, merengue, bachata, salsa, cumbia, and we do that once a month. And oftentimes people will say, well, I don't, my hips don't move that way, or I have two left feet, so I can't go, I can't learn something new. But you always can learn something new, and that's what we are all about at Latinos in Grapevine. So this really great tips for us. I think someone asked, can we have some preventing testing done to catch Alzheimer's at its early stages? You talked a little bit about that already. Um, and just paying attention to those symptoms. I find that a lot of time with our busyness, our schedules, dropping off kids, activities, that we don't stop for a moment to really kind of evaluate and take those signs seriously. and a lot of times won't go to a doctor and just inquire. I haven't been remembering the way I used to. It's a vulnerable state, right? It's hard to kind of admit that you are going through these things. And so, especially men, right? I'm sure that you have seen that it becomes more difficult to accept that these things are happening and make your way to a physician. But it's really, really important, as you said before, to seek help, seek the testing, and be able to put a little pause on the progression of the disease by some of this latest research that you've told us about. So this is awesome. Now I don't think we have any other questions. Is there anything else you wanted to add? I love, just being able to have the video. Sometimes, based on the time frame, we have largely our population that follows us is Latinos. They are Spanish speakers. So I didn't gather that we would have a lot of participants with the English version, but I love, love, love that we can keep the recording and people can go back to it and learn because this is what it's all about. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, something that I wanted to add now that you mentioned your dancing classes that you have is that I read on a paper on Scientific American that talked about how beneficial dancing is to the brain, and they did a study on a population that suffer from Alzheimer's disease, and they saw that it was extremely beneficial to their cognition. So keep doing what you're doing. Um, uh, it's amazing everything that you do, and it makes me so happy because it actually improves your brain health.
That's amazing. Well, if you can share that article with me, I would greatly appreciate it because if it's about dancing, that means my brain is going to be intact for a very, very long time because I love to dance. So I wanted to thank Diana for being here. I wanted to thank the Alzheimer's Association for being here with us. We have lots coming up. We have in August the security and safety for your children through the Elevate program. So it is in Spanish. If you have anyone that I'm also an ESL teacher here in Grapevine. And a lot of times I'm always promoting the Elevate program because a lot of people don't know about it. So if you have neighbors or you have employees, please send them our way. We are all about learning and becoming better. And so I would hope that we can spread the word. So we have in August safety and security with Captain Gutierrez from the Grapevine Police Department. We have public schools with Jorge Rodriguez, which is our collaborator and educational consultant. We are also geared up and planning for Celebra Grapevine 2024. The topic and theme for this year Celebra is the music that unites us. We're going to have a Selena lookalike contest. We are going to have um, selfie stations. We are going to have an amazing array of performances. So we will hope that you will partner with us to make sure that it's a success. And we're looking for sponsors, and sometimes that sponsorship is in kind. So if you want us to feature your business, if you want to be a part of this amazing event that is getting the attention of not only people in Grapevine, but all throughout the DFW Metroplex, we hope that you will reach out to us, celebragrapevine.com. So, if nothing else, no more questions until we meet next time. Thank you again, Diana, for spending some time with us here today.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay, bye bye.